you. Happy birthday, Mama. We call her Mama.
No, she's not Mama.
I call her Mama too. Two of them are the same.
Happy birthday, darling. I didn't even realize it was her birthday.
So we've, as I told, for those of you that don't know, we actually we've been asked to stop giving birthday shout-outs to fans. Yes. But because it was our producer, it was important for us to acknowledge his birthday. But that's family.
And our ex-colleague here. No. Okay, it was her birthday yesterday.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. We were on set yesterday.
No, not yesterday, the day before, Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, and he posted something.
Yes, that's because I knew it was no Monday.
Okay.
How are you doing, Maria?
Fine. So in continuation of TVC Women's Network that was launched, I took everything home. My children were so excited. They did not cut the cake while we were there. They finished. I stayed back for that cake.
Oh, you waited?
Oh, yes. We looked for the knife together.
Are you serious?
We went and cut the cake and I took it home. My children, I was so proud of myself because usually I'm just like, okay, you're not ready, thank you. But I said, no, I need to fight for my children.
So you don't eat them?
Yeah. So they were so excited. My daughter was everywhere. I'm a woman. I'm a woman.
Well done to
TVC. I'm like, well, you're a girl. You will get there.
We have to give a round of applause to TVC because I mean, they really, I mean, Mabel, the entire team, Kemi, Shonubi, the HR director. Last time I checked was HR director. I don't know, they call her people something now.
Yes.
But but the idea was that they planned it well and they made every woman feel special yesterday. And it was very fantastic event.
And I won money.
Yeah.
Really? Yes.
How much?
A lot of money. Not too much so that you don't come for me. Just a little.
Fantastic. Oh, that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy about that.
I heard about it so late. I would love to be here.
I was busy. I was at the FRSC. I was there. There was a question and answer thingy, and then 2 p.m. I was at the Lead Gen initiative. It was an online virtual. I was the anchor for the event. It was really, Abike Badabri was there. Obviously Kwesili was there. Tara Feladote was there. It was really nice. I enjoyed the session from start to finish. In the evening, Praise Forward invited me to his own session, which we had conversations also with me. It was really nice. So it was an interesting day, and I thank God for that. Okay. Let's go on a break. Anything else, YK?
No, I was going to say International Women's Day, yes, was yesterday, but I think one day in a year is not enough for women. I think every day is...
YK, we have 3 days this year.
Many days in a year.
This year, we have this day, we have Mother's Day, we have Mothering Sunday.
The rest of the year is for men? The rest of the year is for men?
We don't even have one. Men don't even have one. Only Father's Day.
That's because every day is their day. Okay. And our own is 3 days.
Okay, let us go.
You see?
When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we're going to start with the Punch. Ogun, Castina, Anambra, 7 governors stick to illegal local government caretaker panels. Picture of women during a protest against hunger and insecurity to mark International Women's Day in Lagos. Controversy surrounds police recovery of lovers' corpse from Lagos hotel. Makinde invites CP over Wakili's arrest, OPC members' detention. Emefiele meets Senate today on the alleged missing $9.5 million PPT fund. Gumi, opinion merchants must stop divisive comments, says Army. Aisha Buhari breaks silence, laments incessant abduction of women. And vaccine distribution begins. Lagos others wait. SGF VIP takes jabs. All right, which story are we starting with? Let's start with the human interest story before we go to the major headline.
It was John and his girlfriend, Darisimi. They were found dead in a hotel. Her parents thought she was in school. And then Rose Tree Hotel, Fagba. They don't know. They're assuming that it's poison, but they don't know.
She was there with her boyfriend?
She was there. John, he was John. She was Darisimi. It was her older sister that came to collect the corpse, and everybody was crying. Apparently, it was on Instablog or something yesterday.
I didn't even
the video.
see it. Oh, wow. Really
she was supposed to be in school, according to the elder sister, so they didn't even know when she went out to hang out with him. But let me take the major story. Yeah, so about 10 states have not conducted elections into local government offices. Most of their elected officials, their tenure had expired, and then they left it and were being administered by caretaker committees that were constituted by the state governors. Now, some of the states, as far back as 2013, had not had any local government chairman for some of the states. And about 10 states, we have Imo, or your state, We have Ogun, Katsina, Anambra, Kwara, Osun, Zamfara, and Sokoto. Some of the states are saying they would have conducted the elections, but because of the COVID-19 that happened, so they are looking to start. The state will be conducting on the 27th of March. Others are saying they don't have funds to actually conduct this election, and they are contradicting a law that was passed by the court in 2016.
Right. That
they do not, these state governors do not have a right to, sack elected local government chairman and replace them with their caretaker committee. So these are some of the things that we need to look into.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
Makinde?
Well, I have Aisha Buhari's story.
Aisha Buhari.
Yes, so
yeah,
we haven't heard from her.
Spoke up.
Yeah. And so
Where
yesterday,
she's speaking from Dubai.
we don't know where, but it's just that she tweeted yesterday in commemoration of the International Women's Day, and her focus was really about women and girls and the continuous abduction of this group of people, and also the effect that COVID-19 has, like the economic effect it's having on people, and that even though we are talking about the COVID-19, we should also think about the other effects that it has on people, and all those who have the power and the influence to do what is right should keep on, exerting their influence and authority in helping people.
Let's move on now to Vanguard. Arrest of kidnapped Kingpin Wakili. Afenifere Pandef, others fume as police take OPC men to Abuja. Hijab controversy, Kwara shuts 10 schools indefinitely. Army wants Gumi, others against inflammatory statements. COVID-19, FG to hold town hall meetings on vaccines. Bandits kidnap another 30 persons in Niger State. Nobody stands to gain anything if Nigeria breaks, says Kuka. And Nigeria records 7.37 trillion deficit in 2020. All right, I have the Kwara State story. Because of the controversy ongoing concerning the hijab, the government has directed that 10 of the schools where this controversy is happening should be closed down whilst they're trying to find some kind of solution to this problem. But I worry about that because the kids are going to be losing out in school.
Exactly.
So why are we shutting down the school because of the hijab matter? This is such a... I would almost kind of say...
Well, could it be the times? Things are quite sensitive along ethnic
they're saying right because of security issues.
Yes, so that is what
they say
may cause it.
Well,
so that may be the backlash.
That's what they're saying. That's the reason they're saying they've closed the schools. Because the school is saying, this is a Christian school, we don't want hijabs. And now it's in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So they are saying they're closing the schools down because of security issues, because it's a volatile situation.
This is the foresight that we normally would ask a government to have or people to have. We have children here. We're talking, every time we talk about anything that has to do with religion in our country, it tends to hit up the politics.
Well, my own worry is the fact that COVID has already made students stay home for so long.
And lose out.
But just trying right now to pick up the pieces and get these kids back to school. And now because of hijab, you're saying stay home. So there's always this back and forth.
Last term's results were horrible across board. All my kids, I was so shocked because of the
online. It wasn't
school.
convenient.
So I don't know.
That's possible. That's why my brother is so upset with his two sons because they didn't do well.
Nobody did well. Even my own children.
Across his daughter did well though.
Which of them?
I know.
But girls are always smarter than
in school. All my kids still had, they struggled last semester.
I did not expect.
Okay, I'm told we have to go on a break. I guess we'll come back to newspaper review. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still reviewing Vanguard, and I know that the major headline, I'd mentioned the Kwara school shutdown. Army wants Gumi, others against inflammatory statements. COVID-19, FG to hold town hall meetings on vaccines. And the major headline, Afenifere Pandef, others fume as police take OPC men to Abuja. So I have that story. You have that story right here.
You have it.
So Afenifere, obviously, especially Iba Gani Adams, that's the Are Onakankafo of Yoruba land, he's not happy at the fact that they moved the boys who actually arrested Wakili. According to him, they've been moved to Abuja. However, the Commissioner for Police in Oyo State said they were still in his custody and that the young man was still with him. And also, he also alleged that 4 men were hacked to death in 2 a.m. Monday morning by herders. forming in the community amongst the police, in the local police in that area. Yes, why you're going to add something to that?
He's saying that he is innocent, that he was even ill when they came to his house, and he told his women in the house to run, and he couldn't run because he was ill. They took him away. That he doesn't know anything about the kidnapping, but they arrested him and took him to the police. Not that they beat him or anything.
No.
They took him to the police station, and it's the people that arrested him that they have now taken
Yeah.
away, according to them.
I wanted to add, because the governor of Oyo State had actually asked that the CP would come to see him just so that they can talk about this arrest. And he mentioned that, OPC mentioned that there had been the story of a house being razed and someone being killed, and he said that that did not happen, no one was killed, and that in fact the house that was burnt by the people, the Wakilis people, to, I don't know, just to make it look like it was an attack on them. So that is their own story now to back up and say this is different from what has been reported, and that they expected to have been praised for what they have done because they helped the police not to be arrested for their
One more story
efforts.
quickly before we run. So the federal government has decided to have a town hall meeting to sensitize people on taking the vaccination. So the PTF chairman has said that all the people on the board will be taken as a way of showing examples so that more people will take the vaccines. The vaccines are healthy, they have passed through the clinical trials, and they are planning to vaccinate about 70% of Nigerians, hopefully,
by 2022.
By 2022. So they are also saying that states, local governments have not really started, but they are going to ensure that those who meet the criteria will be given the vaccines for them to start vaccinating people. So,
all right, moving on quickly now to Daily Trust. Niger to arm vigilante with pump action guns. NDLE uncovers cocaine cache in Anambra Monarch's Place. UNESCO scores Buhari high on women inclusion in governance. Nigeria needs $1.5 trillion GDP to tackle debt and poverty, says Rwani. And 5 reasons Nigeria President won $1.9 billion leadership prize. Right.
Yeah,
Let's make. Yeah, go ahead.
So NDLEA has uncovered various quantities of cocaine, heroin in a particular palace of a ruler in Anambra State. It doesn't say specifically who this ruler is, but there are rumors out there here and there who it might have been, who it is actually. And they said that the investigation is ongoing, and that usually when they get things like this, they send it straight to headquarters. Wherever it is that they find illicit drugs, they take the report and investigation straight to headquarters, and so it will be sorted out there.
Right.
This is, of course, in addition to so many other arrests that have been made by NDLEA. Somebody was caught also with illicit drugs. He had a false bottom in his suitcase and he was caught at the airport. So NDLEA seems to be right on
that guy is supposed to actually be a notorious person, so they have been watching him and they finally caught up with him. But in Niger, it's the headlines here, but I read it from another paper.
Yes, go ahead.
20 people from Baggy, did I get it right? Were kidnapped, 11 men and 9 females. And the governor has now said they should carry arms. He has now ordered that security forces should now start carrying
Vigilante.
Vigilante,
yes.
So he had a meeting with about 200 of them,
Yeah.
and he said that he was going to support them with pump action, and that he's been receiving threats from bandits saying that they should destabilize the vigilante in the state. He's saying that he's not going to listen to them. The vigilante will keep working even after security issues have been resolved. So, but the spokesperson to the Commissioner of Police has said that he has not received any directive on anything about pump action. So.
Okay, let's move on now to Daily Sun. Bandits launch fresh multiple attacks in Niger communities. Umahi plotting to frame me with IPOB, says PDP zonal chair. 4 hacked to death by suspected herdsmen in Igongon. Nama raises safety concerns at airports. Army tackles Gumi on alleged extrajudicial killings by Christian soldiers. And drug bust at Lagos airport. 3 courier firms, Anambra Monarch's Palace. Okay, I think we already, yes, go ahead.
So the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, the MD, the Managing Director, Captain Fola Akinkoto, during a visit by the Senate Committee on Aviation headed by Smart Adeyemi, he talked about how he had safety concerns about our airports, that most of our communication devices are being vandalized by people, and also some of them are quite obsolete and antiquated, and that it is important that we have up-to-date communications, because that is what guarantees the safety of flights, you know, that they need communication on air, helps also with the landing, safe landing and takeoff, but also that there are people who are vandalizing equipment, especially in the Iju area in Lagos. And so they're asking that the House of Assembly uses its influence to push for better security of this equipment, and also to upgrade the communication equipment for airports.
Okay, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. Let's find a story we've not taken. COVID-19, orderly rollout of vaccines will test Nigeria's ability. Politicians offered bandits 57 million naira not to release abducted Jangabwe girls. Governor Ace alleges. I wish I read that story.
The Anglican minister, so I'm just...
How Nigeria can survive problems of poverty, debt, and insecurity, says Rwani. 7 arraigned over Shasha crisis to be released. And I'm pained by continued abduction of women and girls, says Aisha Buhari. Which story haven't we taken here?
The Shasha.
Yes, Shasha, yes, go ahead.
So the Oyo State Commissioner of Police, Ngozi Onadeko, has said that the 7 persons arraigned in connection with the Shasha crisis in Oyo State are to be released. So they said they had investigated and they realized that the people had no case to answer. So while other persons were saying, why didn't people arrest the Hausa people who allegedly burnt down houses as well? So she's saying that they should not put ethnic coloration to what it is. Criminality is criminality, and if people do not have a case to answer, they do not have a case to answer. Investigations are still ongoing, so we may likely hear more about what is happening.
And our final paper this morning is The Guardian. COVID-19 vaccine safe. Government assures as more VIP get jabs. Do more for women. Aisha Buhari charges leaders, and Anambra women go naked over land for airport. Let's talk about the Anambra women going naked.
Yes, so angry women from Enua Umokbo in Anambra East, went naked to protest their ancestral land being taken from them by the federal government. So they had said initially that the government had come to several hectares of land and said they wanted to use it to build airports and several things for the state. But then at the end of the day, they realized that they share it amongst themselves, and now they have mapped out the first one they collected. They had not done anything. They have not put up any infrastructure there. Now they've mapped up another several acres of land as well that they want to take. So Anambra women, alongside about 2,000 youths, have blocked the roads. They are saying that leave this land for us, our ancestral land. Our children need to have this inheritance. We are not just here for politicians.
This going naked thing, I mean, they've been doing it for
women
centuries.
Have been, yes.
What is it effective? I don't know. It's just I've never heard of it happen in this southwestern parts or southern western part. I'm not sure, but I always hear it in the southern east. It's really prominent, where women just say we're going naked.
Yes. So show you the height of the anger.
They've gone naked.
Tops.
Right. Oh wow. Okay.
Because
I would like to know.
I don't think the Obas are supposed to really see that kind of display. So it's effective.
In modern times, how effective is it?
I don't know.
In modern times, you go naked.
The Twitterers,
everybody's naked.
The Twitterers will just be...
Yes, now they will take a picture. That's it. I don't know how.
Everybody's already naked.
I don't know how it can. Anyway, I hope it's effective. I really do. But I'm just thinking that we might have to modify these things.
I think it can be effective.
So, okay, would you go naked for a cause?
It's supposed to make you ashamed of...
I'm too old now.
Making your
It's old women that are doing this,
point.
not young people. It's old people. These
Okay,
are
I'm
women.
too young. It's 80-year-olds.
Let's go on a break. Imagine I need 2 magazines. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll move on to our hot topic for the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, there's a story of a woman seeking justice over wrong diagnosis. According to the report, she was misdiagnosed with breast cancer and had her breast cut off. However, she was later proven not to have any disease at all. We do not have both versions of the story or any link with the involved parties, but our discussion generally will be on wrong medical diagnosis in women. Have you experienced this before? Is this a story you're familiar with or you know of? You can call us on 081-270-53687. You can also call us on 091-390-76948. And you can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. So this is almost like a Nigerian story. We've all heard of or familiar with these kind of stories where somebody goes to the hospital for one thing and then they are diagnosed for something totally different from what they expected, and before they know it, they've started taking medication just for them to have the opportunity to travel abroad or somewhere else or go to get a second opinion in a different hospital, and they find out they never had that disease in the first place. And this has happened several times. I'd like to hear your stories before we take our phone lines. YK? I know it happened to your sister.
Yes. And I've said it on this set before. My sister, she went with stomachache to the hospital. They said she had a peptic ulcer. Then they operated against our better judgment. They operated, and they said, no, it was ectopic pregnancy. And then they said, and then even until we left the hospital, they had not diagnosed it. But she now started losing the use of her limbs. She couldn't walk. They put her in a cast. I mean, I really don't want to relive that story, because even when we moved her to the other hospital, it was just as bad. Till they gave her chemotherapy, one eye came out like this. My sister suffered. She suffered. I see those doctors now, I don't greet them. I can't greet them. One of the doctors died. You know when you hear someone that, you are just like, don't you, go and meet my sister, go and judge yourselves there. You know, I thought that with COVID, we would get the medical system right. But we still haven't, because the COVID showed us how bad the medical system is in Nigeria. You can't be admitted, you can't do anything, they have to open isolation center for you.
But interestingly, Waike, we have good doctors in Nigeria. I mean, it's amazing. I know you are, I know you're not. I'm just taking it from a different angle, that considering the fact that we have good professionals, doctors in that industry who actually know the work, but they're not being supported by the tools, the appropriate tools sometimes to execute their work. Because I've had the opportunity to speak to a few doctors who have practiced abroad, and they come here, they say they know what to do. But unfortunately, there are always issues of politicking, administrative inadequacies across the hospitals, things that are beyond their own control. So, yes, they diagnose you, but there are certain tests they need to make that unfortunately, the hospitals don't have this equipment for them. So, you're right, there's issue of malpractice as a person, and it's also issue of poor infrastructure in our hospitals.
Which is why I'm saying it's exposed, COVID exposed
both
the bad, of our hospitals.
Yes.
Because if we would have been able to contain it, if the hospitals had been ready, they are not ready. God forbid Ebola enters here again. God forbid. I've promised myself that if I hear that it enters through the airport, this is how I will sit in my house, I will not step out of the gates. Because it's not die. Not die. So what I'm trying to say is, we have to start to repair these things. Then the doctors too. I mean, I cannot forget when I was giving birth. I can't forget when I was giving birth.
I'll come to that story. Let me hear the initial thoughts of the other ladies.
So initially I was thinking that, because of the inefficiencies we have in our medical history in Nigeria, that this case is peculiar to us. But I did a little bit of research, and I realized that in Australia, or Igbo countries, they have over 140,000 cases of misdiagnosis every year. So that brought to my attention that this is not just a case of Nigeria, it's a medical issue that happens across the world. And there could be a lot of factors that could make it happen. The human nature is dynamic. We keep changing. Today they see new disease. Tomorrow, before they finish giving a name to that disease, another disease has popped up. They see this cancer today. So, okay, so even this COVID-19, we hear that it's mutating. It's changing, it's moving, it's growing, it's adapting. So while you are still finding a cure for this particular one, another one has mutated. And, You know, these things are not rocket science. It takes time. It takes time to be able to build procedures that work. It takes time to be able
Well, there's some basic things that we ought to know. So somebody comes for a stomach ache. We have malaria. There's certain, because I mean, anytime we have medical doctors here, I keep asking them the same question, and nobody has been able to answer. When you go to the hospital, the first thing you're treated for is either malaria or typhoid, maximum.
Without tests?
No, I don't mean with tests.
Okay.
That's what it, but there are other issues. So you come with all these other major clinical problems, but they can't determine it because for the first 1 month, you are rather treating malaria, second time, they're now raise it to typhoid. After typhoid, they now admit you. Before they now finally diagnose you for what is really doing you,
Like
that's already gotten worse.
A friend of mine, his father was diagnosed with malaria and typhoid for over 1 year. When he went to South Africa, he was in stage 4 cancer, and he died.
Let me come to you, Maria.
Yeah, so, that's sad. That's really sad. So, you know, one thing with, like as both of them said, I also agree that there are two faces to this medical malpractice, especially in Nigeria, is that one, we do have people who make mistakes. The doctors who make mistakes, who misdiagnose you, who do the test wrong, or someone does not read the test results right. That happens. And also because we have a number of quack, fake doctors, pharmacists, and because of how expensive it is to get medical care in Nigeria, a lot of people would rather do some of these things by themselves. I'm a good Google doctor because I'm thinking, okay, if I have to stop at this hospital just to see the doctor, I'm dropping 20,000 naira just for him to look at me and then tell me, go and get a malaria tablet. So somehow I figured it out, like, okay, what are my symptoms? Google, da-da-da-da-da-da. So it takes some time before I even finally end up at the hospital. Then secondly, we just do not seem to have a strong legal, you know, when it comes to like lawsuits against people, against people who do this. When a person finds out that they were misdiagnosed or mistreated and caused death, most families just want to end it. You know, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like you have said, I don't want to relieve this. I just want to move on. And because of that, it seems that many people in Nigeria can get away with malpractices like that. We have the story of a particular medical practitioner who had been going around doing some butt injections or butt surgery for people, liposuctions for people, and the cases, you know, they ended up in death, more than 2-3 deaths. And it took a long time before we finally heard something that was being done. And she's not the only one. A lot of medical practitioners get away with evil in this country. And so those are the two things we need to talk about. How much it costs, so people are not taking, you know, they're not taking their health into their hands. And also what happens when there's a medical malpractice.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, let's take a few calls. I'd like to hear our viewers' experiences in this regard. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So you can call us on 081-270-53687. You can also call us on 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag TVC so we can read your tweets. It's important we have these conversations once in a while because we've had this conversation before. And it's a constant reminder to our leaders of the importance and importance of ensuring that adequate investments and steps are put into the medical sector, because there are many of us that don't have the opportunity to travel abroad and to get all the second opinions. This is all we have. We can only go to the general hospitals. Many of us can't even afford to go to a private clinic. Yeah. We have to go to the general hospital. So I know in many cases the general hospitals are actually better because they are financed by the government. However, there's always issue of crowd. Yes. Do they have bed spaces enough for us? You know, they don't have capacity to accommodate the numbers. So there's always those issues. That's why people have to go to private hospitals. But it's a reminder to the government on how important it is for them to invest in this sector.
Yes, that would have been my next point, the general hospitals. Because if you look at Luth, the way Luth was built, Luth is actually a beautiful hospital. If it was well financed and well managed, it would be a first class. The same thing with the Badon the University Teaching Hospital in Ibadan.
Yeah.
They are world-class structures.
Yes.
If the correct investment was put into them, and there was no brain drain, because the best doctors in the world are Nigerians. The best doctors are Nigerians, and they are all abroad.
Let me take this call from Bimbo. Bimbo, are you there? Thanks for calling. Hello, Bimbo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I actually want to share my own personal experience. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, maybe now the volume has been put up. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. In 2016, and for a mammogram here in Lagos, and they did a biopsy, and the result came out that, oh, blah, 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 they had cancer, not me. So I was like, oh no, I have to have a second opinion, and I traveled to the UK with the mammogram and I went into the doctor,
It's
they put
difficult.
me on the line, and they said, no way, you don't have anything next to cancer at all. So for them, they put me on ultrasound, and they said I don't even have the cells. Meanwhile, they were actually advising me here.
We missed that. They were advising you here. Sorry, we missed that. They were advising you here what?
That I should go to LATU. They actually gave me a referral letter.
Okay.
To LATU. That probably they would have to cut off my breast. So because of the experience my late dad had, that he had an operation on his prostate, and they didn't know it was cancer before it was too late. You know, I said no, I was going to have a second opinion in the UK. And I could see the ultrasound, and you know, they understand those things better. And you know, they said there was no cell called cancer. They even actually did another biopsy again to be double sure.
Thank you very much, Bimbo. We're having trouble hearing you very clearly, but I think we got the point of what you said. Thank you so much. So she had, go ahead, Mariam.
Yeah, so this reminds me of what, there was a time that I wasn't feeling well, and I was doing series of tests, and they had to do a CT scan for me, and this was a Lagos hospital, government hospital, where I was given a note from the private hospital because they had that CT scan machine. And when I got there were these two young boys. I'm not saying young people cannot be doctors or, you know. And he gave me a Ragolis bottle of something. You need to take it so that when they do the scan. Yes. So he said to me, so I was like, am I supposed to finish everything? He said, all right, maybe not everything, just try, Sha. That's what he told me. It was like, just try. If you can do this, if you can do this. So I thought, okay, let me prove to him that I'm a courageous person. So I finished it. When I got, he was like, you finished it? I said, bros, you said whether this or this. You did not say to me exactly 2 spoons or 3 spoons. And then I'm showing you. And then, so I was anxious. I was laid on the thing. And they were arguing between themselves. Is it left? Is it right? I was so scared. So I called my husband. I said, I'm not doing this. But my husband, old school, and he said, no, don't worry, you'll be fine. Left to me, I wanted to just get up and say, I'm not doing it. And they proceeded to finally do it. While we were doing it, I just threw up all over.
Gosh.
Do you understand? Because I was just so afraid. Anyway, I got my test result. But then I had the opportunity of going abroad to do the same CT scan. And then they asked me, do you have any allergies or anything? I said, yeah, so the last time when they gave me this thing, I threw up. So I'm allergic to that particular whatever. When they did it, I mean, I was there, in, out. They asked me, what kind of music would you like to listen to? What sort of, you know? it was so seamless. It didn't even seem like a whole, like a procedure, like anything was done quickly in and out. So we do have that issue where we need more investment, as you said, in our health sector.
Let me take this call from Olaoluwa. Are you still there, Olaoluwa?
Yes, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Okay. Number one, medical is very expensive in Nigeria, to be honest. You said something about going to the general hospital, go there, people that are there. As I'm talking now, presently, a few people I know of a neighbor's sons that went there, and they were there.
So,
They asked them to write their numbers.
You know, two neighbors, and we missed up. What did you say now? You say that again.
I said I know somebody that went to last week.
Yeah.
They were told to write their phone numbers and they will call them back.
Okay.
But let me give you another example. During the COVID last year, I had a backache. So I wanted to go to my own private hospital. School in England. You know, he was there, he studied in England, and he worked there for so long. So I called him. I said, "Oh, I'm actually having backache." Blah blah. And I said, "And I'm on my way to so hospital." And I said, "No, come, let me see you." And all those. I went to a particular hospital that is for federal government, but they have a private side for private people. So getting there, they actually told me, go and do MRI. And the MRI is just beside a nice British, in fact, let me just put it, at Igbobi. They have a private side at Igbobi. So I went there and they told me, go and do MRI. And he actually told me, my friend told me, you know the reason for this MRI? It will actually show your problem, what is wrong with you. But if you just... I went to MRI, just beside a place they call amenity building. I paid 75,500 for the MRI.
Wow.
The following day, I was able to see the overall doctor there. It was as if it was a miracle. The questions they asked me while I was young, when I got back, 30 and a little below 30, you understand? By the time I finished with the doctor, I was already okay. I can tell you 72 hours, something that took me months in my house, to the fact that I would even put anointing oil. I will pray about it. 72 hours, all the pains disappeared.
Wow.
I look at myself. I thought myself, if I don't have money for MRI.
Thank you very much, Olaoluwa, for sharing that. Mariam, could you?
Yeah,
I wanted to get a wrap up of what you picked up what she said.
She was just, no, I didn't finally get it.
I didn't get it. But
I
I
was
think
talking about how much.
it was difficult
that
to...
was once. I think I ate something that was really bad for me. So I woke up in the middle of the night. I had to go to the hospital. I was writhing in pain. They rushed me to the hospital. I got there. They gave me an injection to ease the pain. So for like a couple of days, I had to be going. Do you know the one that they gave me stomach test, you know, go under the kidney? Then the doctor looks at me and said, I think you have noodles on your liver. So we will operate. You know, when I heard that one like this, you know, they had already killed my sister by this time. And you all said, thank you very much. I'll be coming for the noodle test. That was about 10 years ago. Me.
And you're fine.
I'm fine. That's how they would have just
cut you open.
And I will not be here again.
What about the ones that they
Which
forget
noodle are they
items?
looking for?
Noodle
on their own
have
liver.
Operation and they forget items in their body. I had a church member recently who a towel was forgotten when she did the appendicitis. So it's
in Nigeria or abroad?
Nigeria here, and she's been, feeling sick. She's been going to the hospital. They could not diagnose what happened, only for them to scan again, X-rayed, and discover that there was a towel from the theater when she did her appendicitis that was forgotten in her stomach. And they had to take her out. But another thing I wanted to highlight is the welfare of these doctors are very important. We had someone who slumped recently after 72-hour shift, and he hadn't been paid for about 3 months. Now, when somebody is thinking of food, thinking of children's school fees, thinking of everything, and the person has a life to cater to.
And he's overworked.
Overworked. Where do you think he will pay attention to diagnosing properly or reading your...
There was one time I had stomach pain.
We have to go on a break. Let me go on a quick break.
Okay.
We might have to wrap up on this, but I think
Can I quickly say
generally...
this?
I know you can't take this. Let me take a break. I have to come back. When we come back, we'll take it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, we're going to be having Dr. Stella Alagbe joining us to help us discuss this issue of medical malpractice. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Good to have you. So, before you came on, we're discussing medical malpractice in Nigeria, how prevalent it is, and the fact that many people have been complaining of misdiagnosis in the hospitals. In your experience, madam, what do you think is the cause of this, and how can we begin to reduce the amount of this kind of misdiagnosis?
Okay, well, misdiagnosis is not something new, in the medical world. However, I think one of the important things that will help curb that is knowing when to refer and who to refer to. Okay? That's why there are specialists. The field of medicine is very vast, and we have all sorts of specialists catering for the different aspects of healthcare. So the key, in my opinion, to solving the problem, or at least reducing the problem of misdiagnosis and poor care in our healthcare service, is actually knowing when to refer and referring promptly. But also beyond that, I think part of the problem is the accessibility to healthcare of our people. A lot of our people don't have access to quality care. And one of the basic reasons for that is finance, because our hospitals are not generally, well funded to cater for patients who can't pay out of pocket. And the health insurance system is still very poorly developed in Nigeria. So a lot of people have to pay out of pocket for their healthcare needs. And because of that, they resort to either quacks or health or self-help to take care of themselves when they are sick, rather than go to proper hospitals, do proper tests, and get proper diagnosis. So a lot of it is due to lack of access, but also when the patients do come to the hospitals, the first at point of care, the first point of care should know how to assess the patient immediately, how to refer or who to refer to, with
Right.
each presentation they receive.
Right.
Okay, there's this, for me, I feel that there are different reasons why this could be. And sometimes I think it all has to do with the educational system. So we have people who go to medical schools. And one of the things we hear a lot about is that graduates just seem so half-baked, just don't seem as if, they've been through the university. Could that be a root cause, that the level of education that we have in Nigeria is just so poor that we're not bringing out well-qualified doctors?
I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I think that, despite the challenges we have in Nigeria, our medical education is still quite top. And if you look around the world, in most parts of the developed world, you find out that Nigerians are at the top of their game in the US, in the UK, in other parts of the world. Nigerians who are trained in Nigeria go out there and do excellently well. So it's not a problem of medical education. It's really a problem, I think it's more of a problem of access. Number one, even if we know what to do, a lot of the hospitals, either they lack the facilities, the lab facilities and other things they need to make appropriate diagnosis, or even if they can afford to do that, the patients can't pay for the test because they have to pay out of pocket for that. So to me, I don't think it's primarily an issue of quality of training.
Right.
Okay.
Wait,
More of a
right.
lack of access.
All right. Let me take this call from
facility.
Samuel Mashe. Good morning, sir. Good to have you on the show. You're live. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I was just trying to ask my own 2 cents. to what's going on.
The volume is very low. I'm trying to hear you.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Can you
better.
hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just trying to add my own 2 cents to what you guys have been discussing because it's of great consequence to our health.
Right.
I had an experience about 10 years ago. I went to a very well-known hospital, which I will not mention. And they tried to put me there for and they said I had ulcer. And they started medicating me. After that, what saved me was that I was going to travel the day after. And when I got to the U.S., I was just visiting a friend's mother who was an octogenarian doctor. He just asked me 1 or 2 questions about my condition because I'd been taking the drugs and I was feeling woozy and uncomfortable. And just asked me 1 or 2 questions, and I said that was negative. And they said you had ulcer. Stop taking those drugs, and I stopped taking those drugs up to today, and I've been fine. So the problem is that if you are misdiagnosed, the medication that results from it will create another ailment. So people will start treating the illness that a misdiagnosis has created into the body. So it is really a complicated issue. Right. So you go to the hospital, you are misdiagnosed, and then the hospital gives you its own treatment and start treating it. Yeah. So I think this is one of the great consequences of this issue.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for contributing to this conversation. Bisi was going to ask a question.
So, doctor, I know that sometimes a doctor diagnoses incorrectly because he's based his diagnosis on an inaccurate test result, either from the lab or radiology. What can be done to ensure that the quality of testing is improved upon, so that at least you can present something that is real to the doctors, because that's where they base their diagnosis from?
Dr. Lagwe, did you get that question?
Well, yeah, okay, I think I do. Well, again, that to me boils down again to a lot to funding. You know, some of the times, some of the facilities or the lab facilities that people go to have their tests done may not be well equipped. Maybe they may not have the appropriate, facilities to do the test. So they tend to cut corners to manage in order to save on cost. Because if you were to tell a patient to pay, okay, this test alone will cost you 5,000, for instance, and that is just a test, not to talk of the medication or the treatment you will take after the diagnosis is made. The patient is more likely to, go to somewhere where he will find the test cheaper, or, if he sees a doctor that can, prescribe for him without appropriate test, it's possible that he may opt to that. The gentleman that commented before, I didn't quite hear him well, but I think part of what I heard was he was talking about being treated for ulcer when he didn't actually have ulcer.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm correct, but I think that's what I heard.
Yes.
So let me give you an instance. One of the main reasons, a lot of people say they have ulcer based on the fact that they have abdominal pain in some parts of their abdomen and all that, and they take treatment. Yes, that may be acceptable under some circumstances. But the actual diagnosis of ulcer can only be made after appropriate testing, and the gold standard is actually what we call endoscopy. Now, I'm sure the doctor would have thought, if I tell this patient to go and do an endoscopy before I can place him on medication to relieve his pain, he probably will think, you know, I'm a wicked doctor. Do you know the average cost of endoscopy, even in government hospitals, is over 50,000? Wow. Okay? So that's just an instance. It's over 50,000 to make that diagnosis, not to treat it. So I can imagine that if a patient comes in severe abdominal pain and you have clinical evidence that this patient may have ulcer, yes, you will treat initially to alleviate those symptoms. And then you can subsequently tell the patient, go and do this test. But I guarantee you, a lot of patients will not want to spend that amount of money. In fact, 50,000 is a conservative. It goes up to 85,000
but I would rather, Dr. Alagwe, I would rather be told that I need to take that test and the cost than a doctor to give me medication for something that I may not have. So I would rather you tell me and I say, oh, it's expensive, I can't take it, please treat me. Then I know it's my own, it's on me. But I wouldn't want a doctor to be thinking on my behalf, or making that assumption on my behalf that, oh, if I tell him it's 50,000 naira, he will think I'm a bad doctor. Okay, but there's an angle like, yes, go ahead, madam. You wanted to respond to that? Yeah,
definitely. That's what I said. When the patient is in acute pain, the doctor will treat that patient to relieve the symptoms and subsequently let him know that he needs to get this test. But what I'm saying is that definitely doctor should tell him that you need to get this test done. And that is what we do. All right, and we ask them to come to the clinic for follow-up. But I guarantee you that most of the patients don't come back with that test because they feel relieved of their symptoms and they don't see why they should spend so much money, you know, to do a test. That's from experience. But we do tell them that they need to do the test to confirm the diagnosis. All right, and that's the right thing to do.
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
You have a question, I'll come to you. Thanks for staying with us. So we still have Dr. Stella Alagwe with us. She's discussing issues surrounding medical malpractice, and later on we'll be discussing, because she's a nephrologist, we're talking about kidney a bit later, but I want to also wrap up on this issue of malpractice. YK, you had a question.
Yes, doctor, I was going to ask you, don't you think there should be a stricter regulatory board for hospitals so that they will stop misdiagnosing and they will make sure they have the right tools, because there are so many mushroom hospitals all over Lagos. Probably Nigeria. I can only talk for Lagos.
Dr. Alagwe, are you there? Hello, madam, are you there?
Okay, yeah. The question is for me?
Yeah, did you hear her? Yes, she was.
I am here, yes.
Yes. Did you hear YK? She was talking about.
Okay, you're talking.
Regulatory.
Yeah.
Stricter regulatory body.
Yeah, you said there's a need for stricter regulatory boards.
Yes.
I very well agree with you. I mean, every professional body, particularly medical, medical practice, requires good regulation, because we deal with life, and life is precious. And we do have, I guarantee you, we do have appropriate regulatory bodies, especially in Lagos State. I may not know much about other parts of the country, but I know that Lagos State is, very good. It has excellent regulatory, monitoring bodies. They actually monitor and then, do implement a lot of decisions that are made.
Okay.
So,
all right, let me throw in one more question for you. Go ahead.
Okay, doctor, I know that misdiagnosis is apparently a mistake, because I don't think a doctor will, want to misdiagnose someone. And but there's something I understand about things like this when it happens. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Can we have a system whereby you make a mistake and the patient complains, this is what has happened, and you own up to your responsibility and apologize for that mistake? Is that something that can work for both the doctors and the patient to give us more confidence that, okay, they are human beings too and it can happen?
Well, like you said, we are all human beings and errors do happen. Anywhere there are human beings, errors do happen. But having said that, I don't think in medical practice the norm is to cover up or to deny. I think, from experience, most doctors are very concerned about their patients, and a lot of doctors go out of their way. We don't just, as doctors, we don't just, work casually like maybe perhaps those who don't work with human beings, who work with files, carry files, and no. We realize that we deal with human beings. And as a matter of fact, because we relate with human beings personally, we feel their pain a lot of times. I can assure you that we do. I mean, I know a lot of doctors, under me or other places that go out of their way to support their patients. So we don't actually try to cover up or anything. It's just the human error that and the limitations we have in terms of access to diagnostic facilities and all that. So sometimes it's possible to get it wrong, yes. And we do admit that.
All right, let me get in one question.
I can't remember a case.
I have a caller waiting, madam. Let me take, Hassan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, you're live.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Please, let us get it right. We have good and wonderful doctors all over this place.
Yeah.
That is very clear. The same way we have bad doctors. We should ponder over three things here. First one, we should ponder over ethics. Second one, we should ponder over empathy. Third, we should ponder over patriotism and commercial interests. We are seeing commercial interests creeping into medical lines where doctors are out to exploit the patients. And in every sphere, in all the professions, we see them. When you go to accounting, you go to banking, you go to this, you go to that, you see them. And those people at the helm of affairs in those areas know the bad guys in their midst. The most important thing here is for them to be up and doing and flush out those bad guys, giving those noble professions a bad name. And a situation where you see in Nigeria here, people brave their ways to become medical doctors. What do you expect them to do when they come to proper practice? This is what we see. Garbage in, garbage out. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have to wrap up on this, but because I wanted to move into the issues of kidney. But Dr. Alagbe, let me put this to you. I mean, I have this thought in my head that maybe the fact and the reality is that we do not have the funds. I don't know if I should say we don't have the funds, but we see that our hospitals are not well funded. We see that many people, most Nigerians, would rather go to either the traditional herbal doctors, or even so, I would call them quacks, doctors who are not really qualified to do this job because they can't afford to go to proper hospitals. My question, therefore, is don't you think it is time for us to bring this hospital to the grassroots such that we empower those native herbs providers, empower them so that they are certified to treat patients because the masses are going to them. So why don't we see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and advise on how they can do it better so that they can address these issues of people who are not able to go to the hospitals, who are medically ready for them. Just putting that out there.
Well, okay. Whether you certify them or not, the traditional health practitioners are there and they are doing their own bit, whether rightly or wrongly. And a lot of the things that end up in the hospital and you may see as malpractice may really be a consequence of some of the bad practices that were started by those traditional rulers. I can tell you for this, traditional practice actually has a place in Lagos State. I know that they can be registered, there's a provision for them. They are supposed to be open with what they do and all that. But it's difficult, So they have their own system of doing things. They have their own way of doing things. I know that the government things, for instance, traditional bed attendants, there's been an attempt, by the primary healthcare service to partner with them in order to reduce, the incidence of maternal and child mortality and morbidity that comes as a consequence of some of the malpractices that start from there. Simple things. So yes, at that level, at the level of primary healthcare, there has been a lot of engagement of traditional health practitioners. Having said that, you and I know that it will be difficult for us, for medical doctors, for instance, to train traditional health practitioners to adopt our own ways of doing things. It took us years to get this training, and they already have their own fixed way of doing things. So it will be really difficult for us to actually, get them, to do things the way we do. But basic things like how to prevent infection and things like that, yes, they can be done, and they are being taught, actually. Especially, I know there's been a lot of success with things like traditional bed attendants at the level of the primary healthcare. So with that, and other things like bone setters, especially with regards to curbing infection and curbing a lot of long-term complications that may result from what they do. So it's one thing to involve them, but it's another thing for them to accept and actually practice what you do, because they never really went through the fundamental training.
So let's talk about kidney for a while, because that's one of the things that women have to go through. The issue of kidney in women. We're still celebrating International Women's Day since yesterday, and part of what we'll be doing this week is addressing issues that women are susceptible to. One of which is kidney disease. I know you're also a nephrologist, so you can help us shed some light on how we can reduce the occurrences of kidney disease amongst women, especially in Nigeria.
Interestingly, Thursday, that's 2 days from now, is World Kidney Day, and it's a day we actually use, to create awareness about kidney disease and how to prevent it, how to help people, suffering from this disease and all that. So it is quite apt that we're talking about this at this time. And of course, yesterday being International Women's Day, it's also important to talk about kidney health, especially as it relates to women. Kidney disease is an important disease. Not only it affects up to about 10% of the population worldwide, and in Nigeria as well, and kidney disease, especially chronic kidney disease, is a serious diagnosis that can have quite devastating, effects on the patients, their families, and the community at large. So it's something that it's really better prevented. But in the event that people end up with chronic kidney disease, what can we do to help? The theme of this year's World Kidney Day is actually, living well with kidney disease. So the idea is those who already have kidney disease, how can they live well? And the emphasis these days is on not just, treating the symptoms, controlling the patient's, disease, but also getting the patient involved, because it's a chronic disease. It's something you live with for the rest of your life. If you have end-stage renal disease, and the patient's involvement in the care is very, very important.
Okay, Dr. Lagwe, usually when we hear of kidney disease, what most of us think of is kidney failure, dialysis. But I've come to understand that there are various types of kidney disease, and some can be treatable. Could you please explain to us what the different types are, maybe just a couple, and then what the symptoms are, so that if you think you may be having it, what are the lifestyle changes you could incorporate to stop it from degenerating into something like kidney failure completely?
Okay, thank you. That's excellent question. There are so many different types of kidney disease. But why we talk so much about chronic kidney disease is that it's the end pathway or the end disease. All other kidney diseases that were not completely treated or did not resolve even after treatment, if they progress, the end of it all will be chronic kidney disease. Having said that, chronic kidney disease can result from simple things like, infections that were not properly treated, like urinary tract infection or pyelonephritis or chronic pyelonephritis that was not properly treated and ended up at the end of the day with permanent damage to the kidney. To things like immunological diseases, where you have the immune response of the body fighting against itself, at the end of it, ending up with chronic kidney damage. And other things like what we call nephrotic syndrome too, which is also, mostly immunological. Things like hypertension, diabetes can also impact on the kidney and at the end of the day lead to chronic kidney disease. Like I said, simple things too, like infection, or, infection for any cause. Bacterial infection, severe bacterial infection can actually affect the kidney. But usually, such will cause what we call acute kidney injury. And most people with acute kidney injury, acute kidney failure, will actually recover. Even if they may require dialysis for some time, they will recover. But a small fraction of them will also progress to chronic kidney disease where they end up with dialysis. Things like
all right,
diabetes, I've talked about diabetes.
Yes. Let me pause you for a second. I have a caller. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Stanley, go ahead. You're live.
Okay, my name is Stanley. I'm calling from Lagos. Actually, I just got discharged from the hospital as a result of kidney infection. I actually had acute kidney infection and it was caused by sepsis. I'm actually lucky to be alive. You may know me as Dr. Counselor on Instagram. Yeah, I've actually been in the hospital since December, and it was crazy, trust me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very crazy. I survived by God's grace. I was all swollen, like, I was weighing 100 plus, been on dialysis and the rest. And I'm glad you are talking about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't see it coming, I just knew I was having, O+. We always believe whatever we have is malaria. And when you see the hospital, they were suspecting COVID. My COVID came out negative, and and it was crazy. But I'm happy to be alive because I had a relation that died 3 days ago as a result of kidney infection.
Stanley, let me stay with you. Stanley, let me stay with you for a moment.
What were some of the symptoms that you saw?
Okay, now the symptom I saw wasn't really, mine was, in fact, Africa, we talk about attack and all, but I don't believe it is, because I was just having the whole, I was having malaria, feverish, I was feeling feverish, and, all of those malaria kind of symptoms. By the time I got into the hospital, I was admitted, I was isolated, and they were looking out for, for COVID. Yeah. So by the time I was referred to 68 Reference Hospital, Yaba, I then, that was when sepsis was discovered. And trust me, my 2 kidneys shut down.
Wow.
I was extremely lucky. I was on oxygen. And in relation to the first topic that was being treated, one of the challenges we're having is what in Igbo we call Ezonyagwalam, the king that knows it all. There are most doctors, they believe they know it all. Meanwhile, there are specialists who can easily detect these things and take it. I was lucky I had specialists all around me. So at the right time, they were telling us this is what to do, this is when to go for dialysis, these are the things you need, this is when you get the original of what you need, this is this, this is that. And trust me, I'm back home. I've been in hospital in January, I'm back home, and I know I still need to get better, but one of the challenges people go through is they don't get specialists that would. I believe a doctor online can tell us that not all doctors can handle everything.
Exactly.
We shouldn't
I think
do
she
this
mentioned it earlier.
in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Stanley. Yeah, go ahead. One more question for you, Stanley.
The dialysis, are you going to be on it permanently now until you can have the kidney operation?
No. As a matter of fact, the way I was so lucky that I didn't need a transplant.
Okay.
At some point, they did a scan. There were holes all over my intestine, and they wanted to prepare me for surgery to seal them up. But a confirmation much later showed that all the holes were gone. I don't know how God did that miracle, actually. Wow. After the third dialysis, my kidneys picked up. I started losing weight, fluid. I started losing all of those weights and all, and I'm back home. That's all I know. I know I need to be more careful. But
I'm so happy that you're doing better and you're
Congratulations.
doing well. But I just want to know, do you know why you had the kidney problem that you had? Was it a lifestyle issue, or what caused it?
It wasn't lifestyle. I don't smoke. The normal belief, I don't smoke. I'm not a chronic. I do only occasionally with my red wine. But what the doctor told me is AKI, acute kidney infection caused by sepsis. Now, sepsis, as I was explaining from what I read up online, is a viral infection, and when it hits the human organ, it could go for the heart, it could go for the liver, it could go for the kidney. Mine, it went for the kidneys. Wow. But I'm glad I came out.
Thank you so much, Stanley, for sharing your story with us. Let me come back to our doctor. Dr. Alagbe, you heard Stanley's testimony. Obviously, in his situation, he had specialists around him that were able to guide him aright. Many people are not that lucky. They can treat you for malaria for 6 months before you finally find out, you have sepsis, before you're then diagnosed with kidney failure. Madam, the doctor, are you still there?
I am with you.
So in that situation, at what point does a patient request for specialists? At what point do you begin to say, I think I need to see somebody who knows better? What do you see? How do you know it's time to see a specialist?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the field of medicine is very vast, and the key to avoiding misdiagnosis or underdiagnosis, as the case may be, is actually knowing when to refer and who to refer to. And it's also, for you to know when to refer and who to refer to, you have to know the basic, medicine. You have to know the basic things, the patient symptom profile. Do some basic tests. There are some basic simple tests that, can be done and, that can help you detect, a kidney, problem. One of the things, like the gentleman that spoke now, what he had was acute kidney injury, which is usually reversible, like I said, in most cases, and it's due to an infection. It can be due to bacterial infection, viral infection. In this case, most likely bacterial infection. Even COVID, a viral infection, can give you an acute kidney injury. But having said that, so that's why it is important to do basic things. One of the basic tests you will do is a simple urine test that can tell you, and it can tell you a lot of things. Is there protein in the urine? Is there evidence of urinary tract infection, which you can see from the urine test? And then a simple blood test, a simple blood test to check the status of the kidney. Not expensive, just a basic creatinine test will tell you if the kidney is working well or if the function of the kidney is jeopardized. Having said that, it's also important to pay attention to simple clinical clues. Yeah. One of the first things you notice if a patient is going to have acute kidney shutdown is that the urine output reduces. And in some cases, the person may actually not make urine at all in a day. So if a patient was in the ward, for instance, and you are monitoring the urine, and suddenly notice that urine output is dropping, you need to keep an eye on that.
Right.
Okay? One of the other common symptoms you notice is swelling of the feet and around the face or around the eyes, especially when you wake up in the morning. If you notice that happening, it's a good time, to visit your doctor or for some basic tests. Okay? And, if that is left to progress, for patients, with acute or chronic renal failure, they may start having recurrent vomiting, feeling unwell, hiccups, and some of these symptoms, when you go to the average doctor, if proper history is not taken and basic tests are not done, they will probably attribute it to malaria, or even worse, typhoid.
Let me take our final.
Those are common symptoms.
Let me take our final caller. Omolara, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I think I have three things that causes wrong diagnosis of patients. Number one, if a lab result is wrongly done, it will mislead the doctor.
Yes.
Because I have a scenario where I took my junior brother to a private hospital, a very reputable one in Lagos. I don't want to mention it. All the lab tests that were done, negative. Both wider, MP, other chest X-ray, scan, negative. Yes, he was not feeling well. I now took him back to a government hospital. They did another lab test for him. They found out he was medically ill, typhoid enteritis positive, malaria parasite positive. So they started the treatment all over again. And then that former private hospital, we paid over 100,000. They did almost 15 types of laboratory investigation. I don't know whether their reagents were expired or not potent, or the lab scientists, they were not good enough. I don't know. That is one cause that can lead to.
Thank you very much, Mama.
Another one, when you overstaff, if we have shortage of manpower in the medical field, the doctors, if there are no competent hands, if we have so many health officers, no consultant on ground, only medical officer, there will be room for misdiagnosing of patients. Then they need to take good care of these doctors very well. If they are not taking good care of very well, they won't do the needful. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Amolara.
Okay, Dr. Stella, I wanted to ask if someone with acute kidney problem can fully recover. But now we have a living example in the person of Stanley. Now my question is, you know, sometimes when we hear kidney, we hear this person probably is a drunk, this person probably has been smoking, this person has lived a very wrong lifestyle. But with the case that we just had in front of us, Stanley, who recovered, his lifestyle had not been, you know, in that, he's not lived a bad lifestyle to affect his kidney. So what comes to my head is that the sepsis is even more of a problem than the kidney issue. Now, how do we preserve ourselves or our kidney or our internal organs that they do not degenerate? How do we stay afloat if you can still have a good lifestyle and come down with kidney disease?
Okay, well, thank you very much. First of all, let me say that kidney disease is really not for drunks and, you know, wayward people or people with bad lifestyles in quotes. But there are a lot of lifestyle issues that can be constitute a risk factor for kidney disease, which if we pay attention to, it can go a long way to helping prevent kidney disease. One lifestyle-related risk factor is actually smoking. Smoking is a no-no. So if you want to avoid kidney disease and a lot of other chronic diseases, especially cardiovascular disease, avoid smoking, quit smoking. The major risk factors for kidney disease or chronic kidney disease in our environment is actually hypertension and diabetes. Hypertension is something that usually does not present with any symptoms until it is really advanced. Diabetes too, a lot of times you may not even know you have diabetes until you start developing complications. So it is important that whether you feel ill or not, you do yourself the benefit of doing annual checks. Do regular checks on yourself. Basic lab tests, like I said, are not even expensive to assess your kidney health, even if it is once a year. Then, like I said, for the acute kidney injury or acute kidney failure, the things that cause it are very common. Things like infection, which you can pick up anywhere. Anybody can have sepsis. You know, the urinary tract infection, which is also much more commoner in women. You know, viral infections, as we have COVID now, and other viral infections. So anything you do, prevent those. And even simple malaria, severe malaria can actually affect your kidneys. So when you are ill, don't just resort to self-medication. Go to the hospital, get appropriately tested.
My own is a personal question, madam. Doctor, my own is a personal question. Me, I urinate a lot. Right. Can I have kidney problem? That means my kidney is working fine. That's my question. Is my kidney working?
Okay, when you say urinate a lot, it has to be is it because you drink a lot of water deliberately? Because urinating a lot also might mean certain things. So if you think it's unusual, if it's out of pattern for you, then you might need to investigate that, because sometimes infection in the urinary tract can cause you to urinate frequently. And also, men who have enlarged prostate may find themselves going to pee more frequently. So if you think it's
let me take this
unusual
call
for you,
from Nduka, who's waiting for a while, from Oweri. Nduka, are you still there?
I'm there, live.
Thank you for holding on. I do apologize. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, live. I can keep waiting for another 1 year.
Oh,
my own is a very serious case.
Yes.
I was sick, and I was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, the government Federal Medical Center were on strike. So I was taken to a private hospital that is run by a mission. Put two together and put three together, they diagnosed that my 2 kidneys have failed. And I was now due to be taken to India for kidney transplant. Luckily for me, I had 2 members of staff who work with me. It's good to be good to your workers. 2 staff came up and donated their kidney to be used to cure me. And we were making arrangements to travel to India. I had a house, I put it up for sale, and people knew I was desperate. They could only offer 9 million naira. I accepted to sell. Since I wasn't going to pay for the kidney, I was only going to pay for transportation of my 2 members of staff and myself to kidney, to have that kidney transplant. Somewhere along the line, I have a brother who is a lab technologist. He came around, looked at that result again, and said, "Brother, who said this result is enough?" Because they rushed me to a dialysis center, Platinum, in the Red Street over. The man came there and said, who brought me to this place? This result doesn't really show that my kidneys are packed up. That was in May 1st, 2017. So he now took me out on that list, referred me to nephrology in Olu, Dr. Cole. And after 2 weeks, I had some blood transfusion, about 4 or 5 blood transfusions. And they now took the results again. They are now analysis. So there's nothing wrong with this man's kidney. There's nothing wrong with this man's kidney. Just to cut the whole thing short, I was treated for other minor ailments. Since March 1st, since May 1st, 2017, till now, I have not gone back to any dialysis center. I am healthy, I'm happy. I thank God I didn't sell my house again, because the people who wanted to buy it now understood what happened, and they took back the advance. Until tomorrow, I keep celebrating those 2 members of staff, Pastor James and Ogechi.
We have to run.
They gave their kidney for me, for little favors I did while being their director. Until date, I am alive. And nothing is happening to me. I'm healthy and happy, and everything about me is all right. So I would have died in a mission hospital. These mission hospitals use retired old white nurses and doctors to run those places. And that is how I would have lost my house.
Thank you very much.
Lost my life, lost my car, lost my house, lost everything. I am still healthy and healthy. It's the message.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nduka, for sharing this story with us.
Can you have these 2 members of staff donating their kidneys at no cost? God bless them wherever they are.
We pray for them.
Amen. Amen. That's the misdiagnosis we have been talking about since morning.
Yeah. So I think we can end the show on that, because we have to wrap up. But I think this is a good way to end the show. So not everybody is in like Mr. Nduka. Not everybody is like a Stanley who was able to survive. This is a man that would have sold his entire house, and 2 of his staff would have lost
the kidney of 2 staff members.
This is why I'm saying the regulatory body, because there are so many mushroom hospitals about. Like, you cannot tell me that anybody
so that man that made that diagnosis,
YK,
should take responsibility for his action. Unfortunately, we have to let our guests go. Thank you so much, Dr. Stella, for joining us. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this time. But is there any final word you'd like to give us before you run off?
The question was important.
Oh, okay. Well, as we mark World Kidney Day again in a few days' time, I would like to encourage everybody, please take care of your kidneys. And more importantly, do all you can to prevent kidney disease. And if you do have a serious kidney disease, or you've been told you have a kidney disease, make sure, do yourself a favor and see a nephrologist. You know, see a nephrologist. It's cost effective.
Right.
It may be expensive, but it will pay you at the end of the day.
Thank you very much,
And
madam.
do yourself a favor, do basic life checks, health checks annually to detect and prevent kidney diseases.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alegbe. It's such a privilege having you on the show today. Thank you very much, Dr. Stella Alegbe, who's a nephrologist. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, we have to wrap up with the show, but I think we learned quite a bit about medical. We need to take a lot of tweets, too. Like, you have to run.
There are loads of tweets.
Please, can we hurry up and take it? Because we have to run. I only have a few seconds. Yes, go ahead, please, very quickly.
One needs to be careful. Dr. Dora Akuyili was diagnosed by a Nigerian doctor with cancer. However, another test was done abroad, and they said there was no cancer. In the end, the woman died of cancer. Human errors happen everywhere.
Tejiri says, I was diagnosed for ulcer in 2010 at the company clinic I was working at the time. Years later, 2 doctors confirmed I didn't have any ulcer.
Nigeria's health system is still based on the 1940s. Why can't colleges and schools of medicine use expert systems to help avoid misdiagnosis? That's from Andrew in Streatham.
Ogumala says, try to get a second or third opinion on any diagnosis that scares or disturbs your emotions before commencing treatment.
Yeah.
Nigeria's healthcare system are poorly funded, and misdiagnosis may not be entirely based on the doctor's incompetence.
Okay, we have to. I think we can wrap up on that. So, in any situation, get a second opinion, see specialists to confirm before you begin treatment. I think that's one thing we've learned for today's show. That's all we can take. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.